Thank you so much for joining us for this final session of Share Our Journey. It's been a fantastic day, so much detail and information coming out. I've just picked out a few highlights from the workshops that I was able to go to. I'm sure you agree that they went very quickly and you would have liked to have gone to more than two. But the key themes I picked up were the importance of migrants' rights within communities, innovation, partnership working, collaboration, making it happen, working together, new opportunities, two-way process, that this hasn't been about just things going one way, very much two-way, us working together. The real benefits, that this has been a win-win situation, and also that we've only just begun. We've got a lot more work to do. So as we start this final panel session, welcome to you all. We're going to be thinking a little bit more about the future and where we go next. And I'm delighted to introduce Bethany Finch, who's the Commissioning Manager for Refugees and Migration for Birmingham City Council. And Bethany is going to lead this final session for us. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone and welcome to the final panel discussion of today. I hope you've had a fantastic day so far, and I hope that this panel discussion gives you the opportunity to ask the burning questions that have been sitting with you all day, have a bit of discussion with colleagues and with panelists from across the project and beyond, and really get a sense of where we go from here as a MiFriendly West Midlands. So welcome to the final discussion. I'm Bethany Finch. Thank you, Ros, for introducing me. I am Commissioning Manager for Refugees and Migration at Birmingham City Council. So you heard a little bit earlier on from Councillor John Cotton about how Birmingham is a city of sanctuary, and that is work that sits in my team within the council, working with our colleagues from across the council and of course outside of it as well, very importantly. And this project, of course, is an example of that work that we do within Birmingham City Council. So it's great to be here with you today. I will shortly introduce our wonderful panel. But before that, I just wanted to introduce a few of the themes that I would love if we could explore throughout today's panel discussion. So first of all, I thought we could think about some of the elements actually that tie in really nicely with Ros's reflections from just now. So for example, partnership projects and innovation. So really exploring the diversity of the MiFriendly Cities partnership and participants and all the seed funded projects and organisations that have been set up as part of MiFriendly Cities, and how has that diversity really stimulated us to innovate, to adapt, and to improve and to establish different relationships across the West Midlands. Second, I thought we could explore the grassroots element of the project. So something that I think has hopefully been reflected throughout the course of today and very consistently throughout the last 3 years is how we have really tried to put migrants and participants at the heart of delivery, from design through to delivery through to assessing our impact. So how have we done that? Have we done that successfully? And what has that added to the project, how in what ways has that been central? And finally, really getting into the discussions around legacy, impact and change. So how are we as organisations and individuals across the West Midlands, how are we changed as a result of the project, and what does the future look like? So those are my thoughts, and hopefully that stimulates some thinking in you already about what questions you'd love to be able to ask. So without further ado, I'm going to ask our wonderful panel to introduce themselves. I will read a little bit of a roll call if that's okay. So firstly to Binyam.
Hi, my name is Biniam Haddish. I'm basically from a refugee background, and depending on my experience, I decided to basically to look into how things are working, especially skilled workforce when they came to the UK. How are they going to be supported to join uni or to go to the skilled workforce? So I struggled with myself on that, so that I try to, using my experience, I try to create a kind of a transition project where I can support people to translate from their home experience and the skills that they have into joining universities and higher education.
Thanks, Binyam. Next to Farisai.
Hi everyone. I'm also of a migrant background from Zimbabwe. I'm passionate about focus was in me with help, because I was going through a lot. As soon as I got help from them, I decided I should actually give back as well. And so way forward, the project came to mind, and I was assisted in becoming an entrepreneur. I work with community groups, integrating migrants and the local people, sharing common problems, common achievements. I also trained as a community health champion, where I've been able to share, especially now with COVID-19, health information through the council, through the public health, to the public. Just encouraging people, reassuring and educating them on how to keep themselves safe and protect others in the process. I can only say that it's been a journey, and it's a journey that continues. I hope people will see MiFriendly Cities through me, because I intend to showcase that ongoing. Thank you.
Thanks, Farisai. What an intro. I hope you managed to catch that. I think there are possibly an issue with the quality of the line to Farisai, but Farisai is a health champion, has been a citizen journalist, and is a social entrepreneur with her business called Way Forward. I'm sure you caught everything else that she said. Thanks, Farisai. Liz.
Hello, hi Bethany, hi everybody. I'm Liz Gaulton. I'm Director of Public Health and Wellbeing at Coventry City Council, and I think I've been invited to join the panel today because the migration team and the work of MiFriendly Cities actually sits within my department, and that's something I'm really proud of and very privileged to be involved in. And I think you know, there is such an inequalities issue, such a health and wellbeing issue around communities who come to our city, and really, really proud to be part of what's happening today. And it sounds like you've had a fantastic day, so thank you for inviting me.
Thanks, Liz. Pam. You're on mute, Pam.
There we go. Good afternoon, my name is Pam Gill. I'm the Deputy CEO of the Refugee Migrant Centre in the Black Country in Birmingham. We're one of the many partners on the MiFriendly project, and it's coming to an end, and we've learned so much from the project, and I'm happy to share that all with you during the course of today.
Thanks, Pam. Peter.
Yeah, hi, my name's Peter Volkowinsky. I've had the privilege of being an expert to the project. So I've seen it more at the beginning, and since COVID, I've seen it physically less, but I've been trying to write about it. I've been trying to pull out some of the threads, and I'm very, very honored to be in this group today, because I've heard so many fantastic things, especially from the migrants and refugees who have become actors of their lives. That's what seems to me to be the most important. I now live in Poland, where the result of Brexit has put me into a kind of migrant clause, because I've got to get new documents because we don't belong to the EU anymore. I'm still British. That was where I was born and bred. So I'm beginning to feel a little bit of the same thing, but I don't have the colour problem, so it's easier. I'll survive.
Great. Sinead.
Hi everyone, I'm Sinead from Coventry University Centre for Trust, Peace and Social Relations. I worked with Sunairah at the beginning to develop this programme, and I'm just immensely proud to hear everyone today, and more importantly to hear the personal stories. In the university we mainly focus on social research, and then we combine that with practical actions within the project.
And that's very original.
Great, thanks Sinead. And Sunairah.
Hello everyone, I'm Sunairah Miraj. I'm the Programme Manager for Migration team here at City Council in Coventry. I am a proud migrant myself. I've been in the UK for 12 years. That said, Coventry is now home where I live with my beautiful family. So this project, like Sinead said, having been involved from the beginning is very close to my heart. And as we've all heard, you know, at the heart of all of this is our participants, our clients, our participants, and the value that they've added. So that's what we're all passionate about. So really proud to be associated with the project, but more importantly, the difference that we are making on the ground. So well done to everyone, and pleased to be here.
Brilliant, and that is our esteemed panel. So welcome to all of the panelists, and welcome to you as the audience, and please do start sending through your questions. So we're going to be using the Q&A box, as I think has been used throughout the panel discussions today. If possible, please direct your question at a specific panel member, and that will help us ensure the flow of the session. So we've got our first question already, and this one I'm going to ask Sunairah to give us a bit of a reflection really on what the work of MiFriendly Cities has meant to Coventry City Council as a local authority and as a team within that local authority, and perhaps Liz can reflect on this as well. Coventry has a reputation for being a city of welcome and a city of peace, especially for those seeking humanitarian protection, and the work within Coventry City Council to welcome people has been ongoing for a long time and is set to continue. But what has really set MiFriendly Cities apart from your previous experiences of this type of work, and how do you really feel it will impact what you do in the future and inform those decisions? So firstly to Sunairah.
Thank you, Bethany. If it's okay, I'm going to answer the second part of the question first. I think, like you quite rightly said, that Coventry has always been a place of welcome for people, and MiFriendly Cities has been an initiative that has allowed us to add to that dimension and add to that welcome. Talking about how the project has been unique in its own way, I think, I'm sure you've heard about different things in the day, but I still remember the second meeting we had, and we were all kind of thinking, well, it's all great to talk about all these initiatives, but who is a migrant, and how do we define it, if that makes sense? You know, how long is a migrant in effect? And we started off with that discussion, and that reflects on how open this project has been from the beginning. And we came to the kind of agreement that, well, anybody who's not born in the UK and chose to come to the UK at some point, doesn't matter whether they are British citizen now or not, it's an open program for people who feel they're still a migrant, and give them the opportunities. And the project from the beginning, and the credit does go to the funder, our Urban Initiative Action funding body, who have been very flexible. So as you've heard throughout the day, the words of, you know, innovativeness, we've tried. That's been one of the strengths of this project, because we have done things, we realized we haven't done them the right way, we've changed them, and then we have changed them further. So there's been a lot of flexibility on this project, which has been challenging, but it has been very rewarding, which means we have learned as we have gone along this journey, and I think we still are learning. And you would have seen how that has allowed us to then be able to have very, very valuable assets. Our participants, you know, we've got Farisai, we've got Binyam, we've got hundreds of people in communities, you know, the health champions that Liz will talk about in a bit more detail later. They've got citizen journalists. We have looked at the value social innovation projects have created. So, you know, we're talking about a lot of value that this project has allowed us to create, which will stay well beyond the end of the life of this project. You know, we've also created physical infrastructure through furniture factories, Hope House. So there's a lot of things that differentiate this project in many ways, and the legacy remains in a way. And I think we will be taking all of this learning into our approaches of how we work in the future. You know, like we've heard about migrants at the heart of the conversation, looking at how we talk about all of the community and not necessarily a section. The opportunities to link in with other EU cities and other local authorities within the UK. So there's a lot that we have learned that that we would like to take forward. And all of that has then, again, you know, influenced our work as a local authority. Anthony earlier in one of the discussions talked about the fact that we might have just got the funding because the funder wanted to see how we are going to deliver such a vast project. And that's the reality of this project. You know, we've touched on health checks, we're looking at employment, we're looking at language. There's so much, and all of these things have allowed us and encouraged us to further strengthen our partnerships within the local authority as well as outside. And we have been then going on to do other projects and other work with our other colleagues within housing, social care, public health. So it's definitely opened doors for us like never before. What we've also realized as a local authority is that information is power. We have, as a project, always advocated for migrants and their rights. So we are already looking at how do we make sure that the resources this project has created, how do we make sure that is available to people in the future as well. So we're linking in with things like Welcome to Coventry app, where we'll make sure that all the information is accessible, because if you have information, you have power. And that is what we are working on as well. And all of the learning that we have done so far, we have taken that into our future funding proposals. We have created new partnerships. We've already got 3 projects starting in Coventry, and some of them already started, where this project has been key in feeding in the learning, whether that is around the work of Share My Language, which you would have heard about already, our work with EU migrants, who again, you know, have been quite an important part of this project. So we will continue to take the learning, the partnerships, the value that this project has created, I think, for a much longer time going forwards. And that is all thanks to the amazing team, but most importantly, the people, our participants, who allowed us to make it happen. So.
Thanks, Sunairah. Great answer there. And some very interesting ideas already being thrown in. Some of those existential questions around how long is someone a migrant for, all those discussions, which will be great to get into shortly. First, I just wanted to see, Liz, if you wanted to add anything to that from a local authority perspective.
Thank you, and a brilliant summary there from Sunairah of some of the breadth of some of the things we've done in Coventry this over the last couple of years. And it's really interesting that the idea that they gave us the money to see what would happen, because it was really a blank canvas, and we've been really creative, and the strength of the partnerships and the participant engagement in that has been fantastic. Probably the only thing left for me to add is the support and the ownership from the local authority and from wider partners at a senior level, I think, has really helped with this. So our chief executive, our council leader, deputy leader have really championed this, and that has been a journey for them as well, but something that's been a sort of golden thread through our work as a city of peace and reconciliation. So I think has really helped embed this, and that's why I feel very confident that certainly in Coventry there will absolutely be a legacy, and this will lead us just from strength to strength. And I think, you know, just we mentioned briefly the health champions, just their role around the agenda around COVID and dispelling myths has just been so important, and it's just been a workforce that we couldn't have done without, really, in terms of supporting our communities. But I'll leave it there, because Sunairah did a really good job of capturing the essence and the flavour of what we've done in Coventry. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Liz. Just a reminder to everyone to please put questions in the Q&A box rather than in the chat, because lots of things flashing up, and that is the thing that we're looking at as part of this panel. So there are in the Q&A box quite a few questions around legacy and exactly how individual projects and businesses and initiatives will be continuing past the end of the project that we know is fast approaching. So I first actually wanted to come to Binyam on this question to see if he could maybe give us a flavour from an innovation project perspective, what the future looks like in your mind, and maybe if you could just reflect on what opportunities you may be looking to access as after the project closes, or anything else like that that you think may inform the legacy and the future direction for the work that you've been delivering. You're on mute, Biniam.
Yeah, so yeah, that is the word of the 2021, isn't it? So yeah, one of the experience that I took and the understanding that I took from the experience of working with different people and different organizations is there is a lot of work that is needed in the future. And initially, when I started this innovation project, it is more of supporting the people who are struggling to get the job or to access the higher education, like universities and so on. So I can see there are two ways to it. So the first thing is understanding of the market and understanding of the higher education in the UK from the immigrant or from the refugee point of view. And at the same time, it's also the understanding of the universities and industries, what's the right to work and what's the standard or what is the achievement of those refugees. So I work in the engineering industry, and in the UK there is always a saying that there is a shortage of engineering. But I don't understand why there are a lot of people with a refugee degree from back home with 10 to 20 years experience in engineering but they couldn't get a job within the UK. So this is a way that I'm trying to put it together and try to understand how we can work with universities and so on. And the first thing that I would like to say is here for Coventry University, thank you, because we managed to bring someone. Basically, he was a refugee. He came here after he had a degree from back home, but he couldn't join the university because there was a misunderstanding what that qualification means. So we have to work with Coventry University to understand what that qualification means and what's his right to work to study in the UK means. And then at the end of the day, we managed this person to join to university at a second year because he already have a degree from back home. These are some of the examples. But when I see how this project will evolve and will evolve in the future, the first thing, for example, for my innovation projects that I am doing is, the first thing, I started the job because this innovation project, because I want to help and support people. So regardless of any support, it will continue. And the other thing is, as part of the MiFriendly Cities support that I got, while I have those supports, I managed to change it into a kind of online podcast way of dealing with it. So because one of the aim of this transition project is to bring people who are successful or who are already involved at higher education or successful in their career, to bring them into seminars and inspire this young generation of refugee and immigrants. So what we are doing is now we are converting that one into kind of a podcast. So people will come to this podcast and give their experience and their network as well to support these new people or this young generation refugee and immigrants that can join higher education and skilled workforce. So for me, as a social innovator, there is always a way of doing things, and we are always looking for a new way of doing things. And this is an example where we are converting now into a podcast where you can go everywhere across the UK, bring the right people and have those conversations and bring them into the committee. And this what is the
Looks like we may have lost Biniam there. Okay, we'll wait to see if Biniam manages to join us back.
Yeah, I'm here in.
You're here. Oh, great. Sorry, please continue.
Yeah, so the way I see it is basically the projects from MiFriendly City. It brings everything to the community. Actually, the communities that are in need through the people who are actually experiencing those issues. So that was very, very helpful. And that helps a lot when I see it in terms of supporting and also reaching the people who are in need. And that's what I like especially about this MiFriendly City projects.
Thanks, Binyam. And that's really interesting to hear, and really positive to hear that lots of your work will continue and actually continue to evolve even after the project's ended. And I think that's an example of what hopefully we see on a larger scale across, especially those that were kind of seed funded through the MiFriendly Cities initiative. We've got also quite a few questions in the chat about this, where we go from here, kind of less on a individual basis and less on a micro basis from the individual projects, but holistically, where we go from here, what are the next steps? And for this question, I wanted to bring Sinead in just to reflect possibly on what the learning has been in terms of the impact through the project so far, and the reflections of what the recommendations look like for the future, and perhaps some of the early conversations about the toolkit and those sorts of aspects as well. So Sinead.
Hey, thank you, Bethany. So we've heard a lot today that it was a very holistic project, but I just wanted to say that when we planned the project, we looked at the Anger and Stang 2004 concept underpinning integration, which does require that you pay attention to employment, housing, education, social links, social bonds, with rights and citizenship as a foundation. And so whilst it was a hugely ambitious project and we could be criticised for not achieving much because of that, I actually think that with the challenging times that we have, the links that we've formed between organisations that don't ordinarily work together. I mean, you have a university, a multinational company, we have, as Martin Reeve described it, authentic leadership within our 3 city councils, and our extremely important grassroots organisations coming together. That is one of the most important things, and that will continue. And I think Sunairah wanted to mention we have already secured some spin-offs and additional activities. So I think these partners have spent 3 years learning each other's languages, cultures, wider networks. That will continue. That capacity is there now. We know each other now, and that will only grow. Within one of the sessions earlier, we had a really good discussion around how it's such a shame that towards the end of the project, that's when more grassroots organisations engage and then the project ends. But I think because we have those partnerships, we have the follow-on opportunities, that won't be lost. And then we have 31 activities. All of them were never going to work, and we're not going to be able to fund all of them going forward. And it's a shame, but it's the reality of projects, as we know. But we do have, I think it's actually 82 trained citizen social scientists now who are opening our eyes through their lived experience to what is happening on the ground, where there's gaps in services. We're going to produce a report on their experiences and their research. And what I would hope would happen is that we will respond to that and find new ways of taking MiFriendly Cities further. And then finally, because I've talked too much, we are developing a toolkit. And so we've learned so much. And as Anthony said earlier, we've had Brexit, a really hostile environment. We've had COVID. And yet, when we watched the film before lunchtime today, just seeing all of the thousands of people's lives that have been impacted positively, I think we've got a lot to say to other cities. And so we will be developing a toolkit which is based on a theory of change. And so what we did within the project is we worked with our participants to understand from their point of view what would be the success measures for achieving a MiFriendly city. And we also worked with partners to understand from their point of view what activities would need to continue. So we've taken that theory of change that was developed from the bottom up and identified 8 domains that are really important towards achieving a MiFriendly city. And so we'll be developing that toolkit. Thank you to everyone who participated today. We'll continue to co-create it. And we would like to combine the toolkit with a pledge, a charter, a commitment, if you like, from an individual perspective, so that it's not just about organisations taking this forward. Individuals will be given the opportunity to perhaps raise their hand and promise that they will vote with the MiFriendly City in mind. So thank you.
Excellent, Sinead, and some really exciting things still to come. It's fantastic. I've got two questions now that actually, I suppose the common theme is geography. So the first, I would actually really be interested to hear Pam's perspective on this question. So it asks about what the importance of the cross local authority partnership has been, and it asks us to remember, I suppose, that people and people's lives don't fit nicely into local authority boundaries, which is a question I love, because as local authorities, we think in boundaries and no one else thinks in boundaries. So this is a great question. So I just wanted, I thought Pam would be a great person to answer this, because she's Deputy CEO of the Refugee and Migrant Centre that works across Birmingham and the Black Country. So a much more porous footprint than we're used to thinking about in terms of local authorities. So people's barriers as migrants settling in a new area, new communities, do not stop and start with a local authority boundary. So really starting to think about what that looks like on a day-to-day basis. The second question, I mentioned geography was the key theme. I'd like to bring Peter in on. There's been a question about what the national constraints have been within the project, and how that has enabled us or constrained us in terms of innovation. So Sinead's already picked up on some of the key elements in the political context of the last few years, and I would be interested to hear Peter's perspective on how that has compared across other countries that you've been working with. So 2 questions on geography. Let's go first to Pam.
I can give you a local perspective. So the Refugee and Migrant Centre work in the Black Country, which is Walsall, Wolverhampton, Dudley, Sandwell, and also Birmingham. I think what this project has done for us is opened our eyes up to sort of outside the geographical boundaries. So we usually have clients coming in through a journey, might be crisis, might have been here for 15, 20 years, might have been sort of straight from another country, war-torn country, and we deal with them in isolation, almost offering a holistic service. What this project has enabled us to do is slightly look outside of that, where boundaries are crossed, either geographically or sort of around people's lives, and create partnerships with not just other grassroots organisations like Ray has, who's our employment broker, but also around different employers that work regionally, and also the local authorities. I think we've developed a really good relationship as a charity with Birmingham, Coventry, and Wolverhampton, to see that actually we can do really good things as a collective rather than work in isolation. And that's really to the betterment of our clients. Instead of saying, sorry, you live in B21, you can only access services that are around this area, we look at the individual and see what they need. And maybe they've got family or connections outside of that area that they can make use of. And also some of the services that we offer may not just be in that one region. It could be that they're based in another region, so they can access that. So things like share my language, ESOL classes, employment opportunities. I mean, COVID has hit us, and it's going to hit us really hard in the next few months around employment. So people aren't just going to be restricted to trying to find employment in their region. So the fact that we've got really good connections now regionally means that we've opened up more opportunities for the people that we're working with. And for me, I think it's what Sinead has said. This project is not just grassroots or local authority, it's an amalgamation of some really key individuals like the university who have done so much evaluation on the work that we've done. And as a charity, we've never really had that. We've never really had someone that's evaluated impact and next steps and legacy. It's all very new to us, and we're really looking forward to carrying on that legacy work as an organisation.
Thanks, Pam. Some really interesting themes there as well. And I love the example of you're in B21, you can access this and this. And I agree that has been it's been a relief to be able to think beyond that sort of approach with the MiFriendly Cities project. And I'd also just reflect that we call ourselves a West Midlands project, but we've been a partnership of 3 local authorities. But I think there's enough of a critical mass there to establish this sort of approach on a more on a wider basis. And the work that Sinead's already mentioned around the toolkit and setting almost a blueprint for this sort of model further afield is exactly the direction that will help us keep ensuring this sort of growing critical mass around the MiFriendly Cities approach, and to stop thinking just in very fixed terms about local authority borders. So questions coming in thick and fast, but I will stick with the original plan, which was to go to Peter and just ask him for some thoughts on the national context and how that has or hasn't inspired innovation in the project, and also just how that may compare to some other countries that you've worked with, Peter.
I think the first difficulty of MiFriendly Cities was Brexit and the unknown quantity of Brexit. Are we going to leave or not? And that kind of limited a certain number of reflections. And I think, on the other hand, it stimulated people into finding your own answers. Now, if we take the example of what Pam was talking about, that we can make people spread out over an urban functional area, or on the national level, on the European level, that's been stopped by Brexit for the time being. So we're definitely cutting borders on a sharp edge, and that maybe is going to have reactions that we don't really know what they're going to be, what the content of that is going to be at a certain point in time. I would like to bring your attention to something which is called the New Leipzig Charter, which is something I had the pleasure of co-moderating on the European level, where we're talking about basically how we approach living spaces on a place-based approach, and where the concentration has been on, yes, let's work on neighborhoods, but not just the ones which are on fire, but all neighborhoods need to have an identity, needs to be worked on, needs to be developed, needs to be animated. Then we have to work on the city levels, because we do have city administration. And finally, we have to work on what's called the urban functional urban areas, which means areas which comprise perhaps cities and non-cities, in other words, villages, places where we're going for leisure, where we're getting food from, etc. And how do we bind these things in an intelligent way and start to think in another way than just administrative boundaries? So we've got a lot of people going, a lot of places going into metropolitan areas and urban areas and stuff. And I think that's one of the answers that we need, but we mustn't forget the neighborhood question, the community question, the B21 question. It has to be a community which is there, which knows how to speak for itself, which knows how to go for things on its own. And there you need not only migrants and non-migrants. And here I'd like to make a little aside. I think that we decided quite early on, or halfway through the project, that we'd been well financed to go towards migrants, and not well financed to go towards the people already residing in the place. The residents, the old time residents, they need as much integration as the newcomers. So it's a meeting of the two sides on two ways, which is necessary. And here perhaps the way in which the positioning of the finance was made could have been different, but then it hasn't been different. So we've had to deal with that without additional finance for the residents who are already there. But I think we've seen that test be done successfully through something like the Health Champions or through the Fab Lab, which I followed a little more closely. I think that really COVID has shown that we are capable of going over and above community borders. The Health Champions have managed to be these sort of signposts of what you need to do in the face of such a difficulty, which is an enormous difficulty at the moment. And I think that's where the success lies. It lies in the ex-migrant and the ex-refugee who has become part of the community because he or she is acting in that community as a live wire, as somebody who is very, very sensitive to many, many questions. And maybe we could do, if we wanted to do the project again, we could do it for migrants and for non-migrants and wake up a few more people from the community which already exists there.
I think that's a really interesting reflection. We often talk about and hear a lot about how integration is a two-way street, but there's no getting away from the fact that most interventions designed to bring about better integration outcomes are directed at only one side of the two-way street. So what would that other side look like, and where could we possibly hope to be by now had that finance and some of the interventions being apportioned in a different way? Lots of food for thought there. Thanks, Peter. There's a great question on the chat, which is actually a question for all panelists, but I would love to start with Farisai. And it is, what are you most proud of? So throughout the MiFriendly Cities journey, and Farisai, you've had a busy one. It would be fantastic to hear what you feel most proud of.
Well, I would say to say I was busy is an understatement. But what I'm proud of most is the pathways that have been opened by me being brave enough to seek the help that I needed from MiFriendly Cities. I didn't imagine that I would be doing as much as I'm doing now, because when I joined, all I wanted was to get my self-confidence back. Then I discovered that once you get your self-confidence back, you automatically discover a whole lot of strength, skills that you have as an individual. And it would be a waste to realize that and then not implement it. I guess I'm so busy. The greatest passion that I got was integration. And I'm proud that I have done as much as I can, and I intend to continue to do that. I mean, today we are saying it's the end of the project. I'm not looking at it as the end. I'm actually looking at it as the beginning of implementing what it is that we have achieved from MiFriendly Cities. And even though it's ending, I've made friendships, collaborations that are going to keep pushing me forward. And, you know, like even though the project is finished, individual here is still alive and is still, I believe, is still as passionate as they were when the project started. So I'm choosing not to focus on the end, but the beginning of us as individuals showing what it is that we've been taught. A lot of money has been spent on us. And so giving back to that is us carrying on and not panicking that it's the end, are we going to support? You'll be surprised how much power you have as an individual, how much power you can have even with other people in your community. This is what I'm really proud of, realizing the power in individuals and then integrating those powers to continue carrying that MiFriendly Cities has left us with. I can't believe I'm actually here being brave enough to pledge continuing the work that MiFriendly Cities initiated. I'm proud, I'm really proud of that.
Fantastic, thanks Farisai. That's just really lovely to hear about the impact that you felt as an individual, and thanks for sharing that probably a bit more personal view about how it's how the value that it's had for you as an individual, and it's just really positive to hear you phrase it in terms of this is not the end, it's the beginning, because that's, you know, as people who've been involved in the project from the beginning, that's always how we hope the end would look like. So for you to be saying that as well, that's just a testament to everything that you've put into the project and got out of it. So excellent. I think it would be only appropriate for me to return to the two minds that were put together to conceive this project in the very beginning, and ask the same question: what are you most proud of? So Sinead and Sunairah. Sinead first, maybe.
It's got to be the participants that we've engaged with, but in particular those participants that are real trailblazers and are agents for change. Seeing the individuals that have undertaken and are continuing the social innovation projects is amazing. And then equally we have social enterprises that have been set up and are employing people and are continuing to deliver social good. And so for me, the project has helped to perhaps provide a platform for these change makers who are there anyway to do more. So I think that would be what I'm most proud of.
I'd like to butt in there and say that you have to call them heroes, those people who have done that. They're contemporary heroes of the 21st century, because I don't see politicians being heroes. I don't see musicians being heroes. I think those are the people who are the real heroes, doing absolutely incredible work today. Congratulations to all of you.
Thanks, Sinead, and thanks, Peter. Sunairah.
I think I'm going to sound like I'm repeating what Sinead and Peter have said, but I think it's definitely the resilience that our people have shown. You know, like Sinead said, the number of challenges we've had through this project are many, but I think the achievements outweigh them. The amazing work that you see happening on the ground, particularly in today's times of the pandemic, when it's so challenging and, you know, everybody's got so much to deal with, but seeing our participants being there in the forefront, really determined to make a difference and be able to kind of, in a way, showcase to the wider communities that how, you know, if you offer the right support and if you facilitate the skills that people bring, it's about all of us. It's not just about one part of the community. And I think that's something that I think I'm proud of the whole project, but I think that's really to the center of my heart, that, you know, we're out there and we're doing things. So thank you to everyone for getting out and making it possible, really.
Thank you. I don't think I could have said anything better than that myself. So it's now 4:20, and we will need to wrap up the journey of today altogether. So without returning to the questions, I would just like to say, if you have asked a question that we haven't managed to get to verbally or through a typed response, don't worry, and we will be sending out some responses to those specific questions. And of course, you can always contact any individual member of the project whose details will be available as part of the follow-up to today's event. So I would love to thank the audience and all those that have asked questions and listened intently to some of the responses that have been given today. And most of all, I would love to thank today's fantastic panelists for joining us and for all your input in today and over the last 3 years. Back over to you, Roz.
Thank you very much. Sorry, just had a slight technical glitch at my end. Thank you very much for that. That was really great to all of the contributors and Bethany. Really interesting. Again, a kind of overview, but in a different way from how we looked at it all first thing this morning. So thank you. It's my task to just tie this whole thing up before we say goodbye. And we had many hopes for today. You can imagine it was a long time in the planning. We wanted to really share the experience of MiFriendly Cities. We wanted to celebrate all the amazing things that have happened. We wanted to talk about the successes as well as the challenges. And we wanted to think about the legacy, not just what's left behind when we finish, but also how we might share all of the learning with others and hope that they might copy some of the good things that we've managed to do. And I feel like we've done that today. I'm sure we'll discuss it further as a team. There are many, many thank yous for today. particularly to all the participants who've contributed. Thank you so much. And without you, today would have been an empty shell. You've added so much and given us so much of a deeper and bigger and more important picture of what's happened. Big thank you to all the team who've put today together. Much of what you've seen and heard or maybe missed will be available either on our YouTube channel or on the resources page of the MiFriendly Cities website. So you will be able to find those things again. And there is a short evaluation, which would be very grateful if you could fill it in. It's always useful for future learning for anything else that we get involved in. I think it might flash up shortly. If not, we'll definitely get it to you one way or another. So I think it just remains for me to say thank you very much indeed. A little comment there. One person said that we can do it ourselves with the right support and help in the right way. I'm sure that's true. We can do it ourselves. So thank you all very much indeed. And goodbye.